by the time I finally take my last breath, I'll have everything figured out. And that just seems so unfair to me. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Virtue Signal. I'm Bill Whittle with my friend Alfonso Rachel. Back when our culture was considerably less toxic and cynical, especially cynical, there was an expression that people used to say quite a lot. I remember it growing up as a kid, and used to be kind of a staple of, your kind of elementary school education and your kind of religious education and so on. And that statement was, no good deed goes unrewarded. And for the last 50 years or 40 years, certainly, I haven't heard that term. What I hear now is no good deed goes unpunished. It's a measure of our culture becoming obviously a lot more cynical. What I wanted to explore with you today is whether you think this trend is actually a real trend, or whether it's just one of those things where you're looking back and thinking things used to be better in the past. But on a number of occasions, especially recently, I got asked to do little favors, a significant favor, but nothing backbreaking or anything. And what I discovered was, over the course of several months, the demand just get larger and larger and larger and larger and larger. And it made me think, oh, well, no good deed goes unpunished. I volunteered to do this. It's just a professional thing. It's got nothing to do with Daily Wire, for those of you out there playing the guessing game. But basically, it was just a sense of, I'm being taken advantage of here. My wife, Natasha, has this happen to her an awful lot, too, where she'll do favors for friends or people, and they just keep wanting more and more and more. And you end up kind of feeling like a chump and a doormat. And I don't want to feel that way about donating time to things I care about. I don't want to feel that way about helping people out. And I'm not going to change. But I guess my question for you is, do you think that this kind of sort of entitlement creep is more of a recent real phenomenon, or do you think that was always there?
Oh man, it's always been. Yeah, this ain't a new thing, man. It's like we can look to the cross and see how that is. We talk about no good deed goes unpunished. I mean, I don't think anybody has done the world a bigger favor than the Lord Himself.
It's a great point, man.
And that was going on before Him. That's why He says, "Woe to you guys who kill the prophets." All these people were telling you the truth and warning you of what was going to happen, and they killed them too. So yeah, this has been going on for a long time.
I don't know if it's a two-way street, and the reason I'm discussing it is I'm perfectly willing to admit that I may just be blind to this. But I don't find myself doing this to other people. I don't find myself taking advantage of their acts of generosity or offers to help. When somebody does that for me, I try to make it as the least uncomfortable it can be for them. I really appreciate that kind of thing. But there does seem to be a sense of, I don't know, I guess it's a combination of ingratitude and maybe entitlement and probably more than anything, really. I don't think it's just meanness or even evil or anything. I think it's mostly just kind of a lack of awareness and a lack of concern or consideration for what you're asking the other person to do. I just watched this thing balloon from, just 40 little things to 250 things in the space of 2-3 weeks, little notes and things like that, little comments that I was working on. And I just look at this and I say to myself, I would never do that. I would certainly, let me rephrase that. I would certainly never up the request without at least asking for it first. You know what I mean? I wouldn't just keep adding to it. And I don't know, it doesn't seem like there's much discussion about kind of about your kind of the obligations that you incur when you ask somebody for a favor, or a loan for that matter, which is obviously a form of a favor. One of the things that is, I think, probably most discouraging about human nature is that it is tempting for some people, many people, I guess, to resent the fact that people are helping them. I don't know how to explain it more precisely than that. But I think clearly that's what the entire social welfare pathology is. People give you something and you didn't have to work for it. And so you think, well, if they're just going to give me something, how come they don't give me something more? I was a victim to this, but fortunately for me, I can say much, much, much younger. I was probably 23, 24. My good friend Fritz was making a ton of money in Miami as an actor, and I was working on a screenplay, and I basically asked him if he would pay my rent for while I was working on this thing for both of us, and he said no, and I was outraged, because I'm just made out of human flesh, and it's not an attractive or particularly noble or virtuous attitude. But I did learn an awful lot from that experience and mortification and thinking about it. And in my second half of my life, I've been much better about showing gratitude for favors and especially for not trying to widen the pipeline of largesse that's come in my way. And I don't want to be cynical about this, but some part of me is telling me that I'm just being kind of a doormat.
I think even though we've established that this is a thing that's always been, I'm pretty sure to some degree, as time goes, there's going to be, it's going to ebb and flow. It's going to seem like in a period, it's going to seem more than usual. I think like in these times, man, it's definitely more than usual because there's a lot of, between the pandemic and things like that, it's made difficult. You got people in their own personal lives trying to put out a bunch of different fires, just trying to make ends meet because of a lot of, this stuff has been imposed on us, right? And I think it makes it difficult for people to maybe want to, behave as honorable as they should in the transactions between people. There's a part of us who understand that, look, man, we need to give a little bit more, right? It's, we're trying to do our part to revive and restore, defend, the Republic and stuff like that. And so we'll lend our time to things like that. And it doesn't seem like, we're remunerated or appreciated, whether it's by money or whether it's by sharing of our videos or commenting about us or anything like that. It's like these things are even too much to ask. Like you're asking somebody to donate a kidney or something like that. Just to, can I get a share? Can I get at least that? If you can't remunerate with money, well then how about maybe with some time, maybe a few clicks of your time just to talk about the content that we're doing. And it's like people won't even do that. Participate in something that you're doing. It's like I gave my time to you, and I'm on time for you and all that sort of stuff. It's like, can you take a minute of your time to maybe do this? And it's like, no, they'll forget about you, right? So it's. I think, but I try to look at it like, well, people are there's things that they're going through also. I don't think people are, don't get me wrong, there's some selfish people out there, but I think a lot of the times, with our own circles and stuff, these people may not really mean to do it. There's stuff that maybe that they were depending on and the people that they were depending on ain't coming through for them and they want to come through for you, but they can't. And, so it looks like on the other person's end, it's like, look, man, you just kind of, you leaving me short, and that may not always be the case. So it's like, trying to look at the broader scope of things rather than just kind of like, looking at it from yourself. And it's a good approach, to give of your time. I remember when I was teaching martial arts and my instructor was kind of like handing the school over to me. He's like, you got to be prepared to give some of your time, man. If you want the business to grow, sometimes you can't always be, I know you're just trying to keep the school open. You want to be able to pay staff and things like that. And you're thinking, well, in order to do that, I need to get paid. But it's like, in order for you to get paid, you may need to give some of your time. And at the time, I didn't really understand that. And it's like, look, this is a good approach in the free market. It's like, this is the things that you want to do. And you may feel like you're being taken advantage of, sometimes when you're giving away this stuff and people are going to seem unappreciative and they'll take your services for granted. It's like, that's one thing. But at the same time, the benefit of it is that you did grant yourself some exposure. Somebody else may have seen, what it is that you're able to do and what you're able to teach, and they may get a clue, and they may want to come in and be paying customers and stuff like that. And you're gonna, at sometimes feel like you're being taken advantage of and not valued and whatnot. But on the other hand, you might reap some rewards from it too.
When you were mentioning the, hey, could you click on a like or a share kind of thing, it made me look at a different side of this equation that I realized it before. I hadn't put it really together to this particular topic for today. But when you say something like, hey, could we just get a like or a share? It's our responsibility to ask for it, and I think this is one of the things I have the biggest problem with. It's like, it's not other people's responsibility to root out what help I need or you need or we need or whatever. And that's why I've always been so just in wonder, really, I think, of seek and you shall find, ask and you shall receive. That there's a very powerful message there. And for many of us, it's like we're just raised. My dad was a Greatest Generation guy, my mom as well. And having been through the Great Depression and all that other stuff, and their morality was you just simply didn't take help. It was just not done. It was a very shameful thing. And I think that got put into my head to the point where it's like I'm very reluctant to ask for help. And when you were saying things like could you possibly just click on a share or a like button or something, I don't think anybody thinks it's too much work. I just think that it's up to us to ask for it. And that asking for it feels a little shameful to me, and I also don't want to be, one of these guys where it's like automatic, here's a pitch at the end of the thing. Although I do that too. What do you think about that ask and you shall receive thing? Specifically, what do you think about the ask part?
Oh, there's nothing wrong with asking. Asking for something or even begging for something when you're not going to take the resources and actually do something constructive with it. I don't think we're like, the kind of people who are sitting in the city, saying, give me money or asking for something that you're not going to redeem in any sort of way. Except
we're providing something in return. It's not like just give me money so I can go sit on the beach or something.
Right. Yeah, we're not doing that. So there's no shame in that. I mean, even if you're, it doesn't matter if you're the wealthiest person on the planet. Let's say they have a product that has made them really wealthy. Well, you're still, in order for them to get there, they still got to ask. They got to ask for you they're going to present you with this product and ask you, say, hey, come on in. We've got this product. We hope that you'll take a look at it. They're still asking and hoping that you will exchange your money for what it is that what it is that they have. So asking is not a bad thing. It's not anything, nothing to be ashamed of. Even when we're talking about liking and sharing, it requires something that's very valuable. It requires time, and in a way, if they're going to share, that's kind of like an endorsement. They're kind of risking their reputation. They're risking an argument, right? They share our product, and then you've got these people want to come in and fight with them because of what we said, and now they're in the middle of a fight. Position to try to defend us. And who's got, time to sit there and be in a Twitter war, a Facebook war over something that we said because their friends disagree with it. Now their friendship is compromised. These are things that people deal with, or they can get put in Facebook jail because of us, or, and things like that because they posted some commentary from us. Yeah, that stuff happens. So it is a big thing to ask, and we don't ask it lightly. These are things that we take into consideration. But the thing that it does kind of, it is kind of like a kick in the teeth, though, when we do ask and we don't get those shares and we don't get those likes, because it's like it does make us feel like, we're kind of left out and alone on the field. I said, do you have our back or not? we put our livelihoods on. This is what we do. This is our livelihood. I know some people are like, why don't you guys get a real job? Whatever that means, right? In our jobs, we employ.
This is a real job.
It is a real job. I don't know if people really understand the magnitude of
sometimes
research.
I don't think of it that way.
Yeah, it's the magnitude of research that we have to do. The cross-referencing things, the studies that we have to do. It's hours and hours and hours of doing these things. It's not just something that, we just click and we just start talking. It's like, no, there's lots of things to consider when we do these things. And, but all that to say, there are things that we have to consider when we ask people to share this stuff. And, that's, we do ask. And sometimes it falls short when people don't comply, don't reply with a share.
Well, we're certainly very grateful for the people that do and have. So last thing on this topic, my wife has this problem as well. She's a photographer and has been doing an awful lot of painting, very good painting lately. And I think it's difficult. This is why they're agents. By the way, when you were talking about asking, while we were talking, I realized, my God, the entire advertising and marketing business is all about the ask. That's it. That's what these billions and billions and billions of dollars spent every year on advertising is spending money to ask. But one of the things that Natasha and I find exacerbates this problem for us, because we're both kind of wired the same way, is it's kind of tough when you're the product. If I was selling shoes, or if I were selling something else, something tangible, even if I was selling somebody else as a commentator or something, it would be easier for me. Again, I don't know how much of this is just my upbringing, but that kind of, there's something, I'll just go with the first word that enters my head here. It seems to me like there's something vulgar about continual self-promotion.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what you have to do if you want to sell shoes or beer or airline tickets. You just have to kind of do it. And when you're the product that you're pushing, it feels to me often that it just seems unseemly, and this just kind of comes back to what I was talking about earlier about no good deed being going unpunished or so on. It's a really complex dynamic, this asking and receiving thing, and on some level you have to ask and you have to make clear what you want, and at the same time you don't want to ask for more than you were granted, I guess, in the first place, is what I'm trying to say. You know what I mean? At least not without asking again.
Yeah. It's, the key thing is like that self-promotion, man. It's, I know what you mean. It's something, it feels dirty somehow, it's like you're having to toot your own horn, and it's like maybe even like exercise this bravado, or maybe come off braggadocious, or I don't know. I know what you mean. The better thing is when people give testimony about your work. That's what people are looking for. That's one of the reasons why we depend on the shares. And a lot of these people, when they have the success that they do, a lot of it is word of mouth. It's other people going out and witnessing, say, hey, when you go in there and you're talking about how good your stuff is, people can blow that off. But when you have other people talking about your work, that's something totally different. It's like the saying goes, man, nothing draws a crowd like a crowd. And that's the thing that we want. It's we want other people talking about our stuff. It's like, we do these productions. I was saying this in my other commentaries. Have we not said anything that's like meme worthy? Have we not said anything that is worth quoting? I mean, if we haven't, then maybe we just need to work a little bit harder to make them catchy quotes or whatnot. But it's like, is there not something that we said that is, hey man, that that resonates with me. Let me quote that and retweet that. Is that too much to ask?
Useful.
Or like, oh man, Bill said something really heavy. I'm gonna make a meme out of it. I'm gonna put his picture on. I'm gonna make a meme on it, make a quote, and I'm gonna put it out there. And it's like, we see people doing those things for other people, and those people, and honestly, man, and I'm not trying to be, to downplay anybody, but a lot of times I see these memes, I'm like, dude, that really wasn't that heavy. not only was it not that heavy, that's already been said, but this person is getting this attribution, like they said it and they've, and it was just this amazing thing that they've said, but their memes go out there. People will make these memes for them. And that kind of, fan base is great. And it helps them to, accelerate the promotion of their work.
Yeah, this kind of went in a different direction than I originally thought, but just to wrap this up, Natasha and I both see people in our line of work doing stuff that we don't think is particularly good work, and it's nothing personal. We just don't think it's particularly good. But they promote themselves like crazy, and they do an awful lot better than we do in terms of the business aspect of it. And I think we're certainly both at the point where we're not bitter about it. We recognize it. We recognize it kind of as a failing on our own part. And I think this has something to do with the Dunning-Kruger effect, where these two psychologists, Dunning and Kruger, did a study of how people rated their own competence. And what Dunning-Kruger found out was that the less that people knew about their job, and the almost in a way the worse that they were at it, the higher they ranked themselves. And the more they knew about their job and the better they were at their job, the lower they ranked themselves. Mm-hmm. And obviously the clear lesson here for me is that I need to do much, much worse work consistently, because then my ability to want to sell it apparently will go up by some magical reason. But that explains why you can watch shows like American Idol or, America's Got Talent. And during the preliminaries, you see these people come in out of the street and they go in there and they're sure they're going to get, the golden ticket. And when they get 3 no's or whatever, they're mystified, right? They're just stunned. They're stunned. They think they're terrific singers because they don't know anything about singing. And this whole dynamic is a very complicated thing. And the reason I wanted to bring it up was because I know it's a two-way street. Back to the original topic, when people start taking advantage of my generosity, what I really should do is I really should just figure out to say, hey, you're starting to take advantage of my generosity, instead of just getting angry about it, or resentful. Just need to just man up and say, hey, I agreed to do this and I've been doing it and I'm happy to do that. I'm happy to do a little bit more too, but to do 4, 5, 6 times what you asked me to do, no. And the thing that really is most disturbing to me as I get older is that I realize that by the time I finally take my last breath, I'll have everything figured out. And that just seems so unfair to me.
Yeah. And you reminded me of something when you were bringing up that dynamic. I was just thinking the other day, it's better to leave it to yourself to assume that you're overrated. It's better that your audience thinks that you're underrated, right?
Then I'm the champion of the world in that case.
There you go. It's like, your audience.
Both of us.
Yeah, your audience should feel like you're underrated, and you personally should feel like you're overrated. And in terms of the no deed going on unpunished, I think, and our audience, I think they're okay to feel this way too, because our audience, they're paying for content that a lot of people get to enjoy, for free. We don't really hide behind a paywall. Most of the stuff that we give away is for free. Why? Because we want to promote sanity in the culture. And have our audience is generous enough to contribute to make sure that other people can see it. And in a lot of ways, they probably feel like they're getting punished in the culture too. They're getting accused of being sexist and racist and whatnot. It's like, look, man, we're trying to show you guys that not like we have something to prove to or anything like that, but that's just not the reality. And they invest in people like us to help us put that message out there. And I think it's a pretty decent message. I think it's a pretty good deed on both of our parts, because we're making this sacrifice. It is what it is. We're not like, martyrs or anything like that. And, oh, woe is me. We're out there just doing this and we're just getting beat up on. It's not that heavy. At least that's what we're trying to make it, where it's not going to get that bad, where people are basically dragged out of their homes and executed in the streets for holding true to what's true. So we don't want it. We're trying to do our part to make sure that we don't get there, because that's coming. And so, and for what? For doing the right thing and getting punished for it.
Well, folks, this show is made possible by the people who've been members with us from the beginning, and especially for the new members that joined in 2020 that allowed us to bring Alfonso Rachel in. For those of you that are interested in these kind of little pieces of trivia, this is episode number 219 of The Virtue Signal. And I bring that up because it's a difficult show to prepare for. With things like Right Angle, we're just dealing with the daily news. We just open up a newspaper or we read Instapundit or whatever the case may be, and here's 17 things to talk about. With this show, we constantly have to try to find a new way to get at universal truths without repeating ourselves, at least not too much anyway. And so 219 times we've come to the table with this and tried to find a way to provide at least maybe some insight for you based on Zoe's experience and my experience on issues that are deeper than just, what happened yesterday in the news. So this is episode 219, and the second we say goodnight, we'll start on episode 220. For those of you that make the show possible, we're very, very grateful. And if you are one of those people that have enjoyed the show and you want to become a member or make a one-time donation at BillWhittle.com, we would like that very much indeed. For Alfonso Rachel, I'm Bill Whittle. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time right here on The Virtue Signal.